For most of us, death feels like the scary final thing, the end of the road. But what if we've got it all wrong? Today, we're going to explore a perspective that sees death not as an end, but as something else entirely, something beautiful. So, yeah, let's dive into this together. And it all really starts with this one incredibly powerful line from the Quran. The key word here, the one that changes everything, is return. Think about it. That suggests life isn't a one-way trip to nowhere, but a round trip. We come from a source, and our journey is all about getting back to that source. This idea is the bedrock for everything we're about to discuss. Okay, so if it's a return, what does that actually mean for death itself? This is where the source material really challenges that common idea of just ceasing to exist. It's about reframing the end as a totally new beginning. And this is where we see a really big split in thinking. The common view, right, is that death is just annihilation, game over, permanent separation. But this perspective flips that completely. It frames death as a seizing of the soul, not to destroy it, but to move it, to transition it from this kind of limited world into a much, much wider existence. To make this idea really stick, the source uses some amazing metaphors. The first one is the bridge of crossing. So imagine death isn't a cliff you just fall off of. Instead, it's a bridge you simply walk across, a passage taking you from a place of struggle and trouble to a place of peace. The second metaphor is the removal of clothes. And this one is brilliant because it shows how the experience can be totally different for different people. For someone who's lived a good life, death is a relief. It's like finally taking off dirty, uncomfortable clothes after a really long day. But for someone who's only attached to this world, it's like being forced to take off beautiful, expensive clothes you love. Painful. And finally, there's the idea of the long sleep. This frames death not as a terrifying nothingness, but as a deep, peaceful rest. It's a pause, It's not the end of the movie. It's just hitting the pause button until everyone is woken up for the final act. And this quote, man, it just wraps it all up so perfectly. The key idea here is permanence. You were created to be eternal. So death isn't about disappearing. It's literally just about moving from one home to another. Okay, but let's be real. If all that is true, if it's just a transition to a better place, why are we so universally afraid of it? That's a huge question, and the source material tackles it head on, really digging into why we have this deep-seated anxiety. So the text breaks it down into three main reasons. First, a simple misunderstanding. We think it's extinction, the end, and that's just plain scary. Second, there's the natural fear of the unknown. It's a journey no one's come back from to tell us about. And third, and this is the big one, it's a lack of preparation. It's like showing up to the airport for a long trip with no luggage. And that third point, wow, this quote just nails it. It basically says if you spend all your time and energy building up this world, but you completely neglect the next one, then of course you're not going to want to move. You don't want to leave the place you've made beautiful to go to a place you've left in ruins. And to really drive this point about preparation home, the source gives us this brilliant story, the parable of the clever king. It's such a great analogy for how to think about life. So get this. There's this country with a super weird tradition. Every year, they crown a new king. He gets to live in total luxury for 1 year. But when the year is up, he gets exiled to this remote, dangerous island where all the past kings have died. Not a great retirement plan. But then, 1 year, a really smart king comes along, and he's different. Instead of just enjoying the palace parties, he spends his entire year in power preparing for what he knows is coming. He sends workers and resources to that deadly island. They clear out the dangers, they build houses, they plant gardens, they turn it into a paradise. So when his year is finally up and the guards come to take him away, you know what happens? Well, all the other kings were dragged away, kicking and screaming. This guy is happy. He's smiling because he's not being exiled to a place of doom. He's moving into the beautiful home he spent a year building for himself. So the moral of the story is pretty clear, right? Our life is that 1 year reign. It's this temporary shot we get to prepare our final destination. A wise person uses this time to build for what's next, not just get lost in the temporary perks of the here and now. And that idea of preparing, well, it leads to the next logical question. What are we preparing for? What are the potential outcomes of all this? The source describes two very different final destinations, and it all depends on the choices we make. The text lays out two groups. You have the companions of the right, those who end up in a good place, finding peace in paradise. And then you have the companions of the left, those who have suffered a great loss and have to face the consequences in hell. It's all presented as a direct result of the choices you make, the deeds you do in life. But why? Why this whole setup with two paths? This verse explains the whole philosophy behind it. Life and death were created as a test, a trial. The whole point is to see which of you is best in deeds. It frames our whole life as an opportunity to show what we're made of through our actions. Okay, so let's bring all this together. We've talked about death as a transition, life as preparation, and our actions as the ultimate measure. What's the big takeaway? How does this view on mortality change how we're supposed to live our lives, right here, right now? The source gives us this amazing list to think about what will actually matter in the end. It won't be about what you bought, but what you built. Not what you got, but what you gave. It shifts the whole focus away from external things like success and competence to internal things like significance and character. I mean, this saying just sums it up, doesn't it? Making a living is about what we get for ourselves, but making a life that really matters, that's all about what we give to others. And it completely reframes how we think about our legacy, right? It's not a numbers game of how many friends or followers you had. The real measure is how many people will feel a genuine, lasting loss when you're no longer here. That's real impact. And that leaves us with the final big question, the one the source really wants us to sit with. If our time here is all about preparation, and our deeds are what count, then how will the value of your days be measured?